Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining Kelly and myself. We're here for our WOM Strategy Hour. That's a Work at Home Mom Strategy Hour. And today we are tackling the question everybody seems to ask. How do you make money blogging? It can be done. It can be done. You can make money blogging. It can be tricky. It's a lot of work. But we are two living stories to tell you that it can be done. So Kelly and I are going to share some of our lessons that we've learned, some tips, advice. We're going to link over and give you a lot of examples of other great resources, other great bloggers you can follow. And we're really going to dig deep into our own personal experiences. So I want to start us off by asking Kelly to tell us a little bit about the 3 blogs that she has and how she monetizes each of those. Kelly, can you share your secrets?
Hi guys, this is Kelly at 3boysandadog.com. So this is what, week 3, right, Susan?
We are in week 3.
Wow. Okay, so this is week 3 of the Work at Home Mom Strategy Hour. Okay, so about me. I write at 3boysandadog.com. It's basically a parenting resource site. Most of my money comes from sponsored posts and brand ambassadorships over there, and then I have 3boysandadog.com/deals, and I do really well on Google AdSense at the deals site, and some affiliates, but mostly AdSense. And then Southern Mom Cooks, it's new, it's about a year old, but I would say probably the bulk of my money comes from affiliates on it.
So I think that's really interesting how you have the 3 different examples of sites, very different types of blogs, and 3 different monetization strategies. And I love that because it really illustrates the different options and how when you're going to start a blog, if you're starting it with the intention of wanting to earn an income from it, that you really want to look at what type of blog you want to start. And a lot of that will be based on how you plan to monetize it. There are different strategies. They take really a different amount of involvement from you as a blogger, and they're really they all can work, but they're different. And so for us at 5 Minutes for Mom, ours is that sort of main mom blog type, like Kelly described her main mom blog, if you want to call it a mom blog. Heaven forbid you call it a mommy blog. We prefer the term mom blog as it's a little bit more respectful. But anyway, we're all cool with being called mommy bloggers anyway. But well, not all of us. But I'm okay with it. Although I do recommend you use the term mom blog as it's a bit more respectful, and most mom bloggers will appreciate that. Anyway. Yes, as Kelly mentioned, one of the main ways that we monetize the sort of traditional mom blog, or the mom blog that features a lot of product reviews or giveaways, is through us working directly with PR companies and with brands. And what we do is we basically, there's a few different strategies within that, but a lot of it goes along with us sharing our influence, our social media influence with that brand, and to basically align our brand with their brand, and thus recommend or advertise or promote their products. So within that, we'll do different things, like Kelly mentioned. We will run giveaways or product placement posts. As in our previous session, Kelly spoke quite a lot about how she runs product placements and the differences between her product review posts and her product placement posts. So you can go back and listen also to, I think that was that last week that we talked about that?
It was like first week, I think, wasn't it? I don't know.
It might have been the first week, because the first week we did talk about overall strategies for working at home, and so we may have talked about it in both those sessions. Anyhow, so running actual posts through our blogs that talk about a product, feature a product, advertise a product, that is a very key way that mom blogs will earn income. We also earn income from sidebar ads and different ad placements actually on our website. But as I said, a lot of it these days will be lending our brand and our influence to be spokespeople for a brand. And so larger campaigns that we'll work with will be based on that, a lot of times based on that model of being a spokesperson. That's when you can get those kind of gigs when you've got a fair amount of influence, you've been blogging for a fair amount of time, and you've got a lot of numbers on your other profiles like Twitter and Facebook and things like that. But it doesn't even have to be that long into it. Janice, one of Janice's most fun gigs was quite early on, actually very early on, and she did this really fun gig with Olive Garden, and it was a brand spokesperson deal, and she flew down to, I can't remember what year this was, but it was years ago, like maybe in 09 or something like that, and she flew down to Orlando, and she did a bunch of TV spots with them on it, some TV spots and radio spots where she was with an Olive Garden chef, and she was sort of the mom along with the chef, and the chef was teaching her how to make a sauce. And that was basically us working, you know, as a brand spokesperson, but just as a mom of influence, and just partnering with a brand in a fun and unique way. So those kind of opportunities exist, and you have to be a little bit creative sometimes. It's really helpful if you like to be on camera, or if you're not shy with being on camera. You get a lot more opportunities to do those kind of deals. Kelly, have you done? Tell us about some of your interesting campaigns, or what some examples. Put you on the spot.
Well, I mean, I've traveled quite a bit for it. I've been to Kenmore Kitchens, which was really cool, and Craft Kitchens. I don't really know. I guess my big thing right now that's my big thing is my Kenmore appliances.
Yes, this is a great deal. I think this is a great example, and it's a great example of you being a real go-getter and getting it done. So tell us how you did that.
So, okay, so we're redoing our house, or we've been redoing our house for like a year now, and I kept telling my husband, we redid the kitchen, it looked so good, and we had, you know, like 15-year-old appliances in there, and, you know, the metal part was starting to peel off the white refrigerator, and the drawer was broken on the bottom of the stove. I mean, it's awful. So I finally decided that I have a blog. I mean, I'm like, come on, I'm a blogger. I have 18,000 Twitter followers. I'm cool, right?
Exactly.
So I decided that I needed to tell Kenmore exactly how cool I was, and I just flat out said, this is what I want, and this is what I'll offer. And they actually didn't respond. Then, right towards the end of the year, they reached out to me and wanted to know if I had gotten appliances, and that they had worked out their budget, and they had the money to send them to me. And so just because you reach out doesn't necessarily mean that, and they don't answer, doesn't necessarily mean that that's it, that you'll never hear from them again. Because, like I said, it took them a while. They had to go through all their channels, and then they got it figured out. And now I have $6,000 worth of appliances sitting in my kitchen, and I have to write like one post a month for it. So
that is so awesome. I love that example, because it was you taking the initiative to reach out to them in a really positive, professional way. You listed exactly what you could do for the brand. You weren't pushy and demanding like, oh, I'm so wonderful and give me this, or else I'm going to slam you. You didn't do anything silly. And then when you didn't get a reply, you were just cool with that. Like, you were just, you know, you didn't do anything obnoxious about it and say, oh, Kenmore didn't even get back to me, or anything silly like that. You were respectful and just waited, and then they got back to you. Big brands work in budgets, and it can take a long time for things to get approved. And often when we're working with a big campaign, with the big brand, campaigns do get planned out far ahead, and you don't get quick turnaround on things lots of the time. So that's a really good lesson. Now, go.
Yeah, Burley has a question. She says, when you have a brand in mind that you know you want to work with, where do you begin to make contact? For Kenmore, and for me, because Twitter is my thing, it's where I have my biggest numbers, is on Twitter. I use Twitter. I figure in most company cases, the PR company runs their social media, and it looks really good. In fact, I have, and I don't know if I still do because I think they worked on it, but I had like way more Twitter followers than Kenmore did. So to reach, so I started the contact on Twitter, and then they ended up following me and private messaging me an email, and then I went from there, and that's when I didn't hear back from them for like a month and a half. But I originally started that contact on Twitter. Susan, what do you do?
Well, can you actually, I like that. Can you give me a hint for, or give us all a hint for what did that tweet sound like? What was your initial tweet to them?
And I don't remember exactly, but basically something like that actually Hurricane Katrina took my Kenmore refrigerator, and and I wasn't able to replace that in my new home that I built, but I loved Kenmore. And then we talked a little bit, and then they tweeted back, "Oh, that's horrible about your refrigerator, and I'm so glad you love Kenmore," and just a couple of chit chats, and then it was, I'd really like to talk to you about working together. Do you have a contact email address? And they sent it to me, and that was that.
There you go. I love that. Now, you did have the great story that Katrina took your stuff away, but now, not that we all, I think most of us will still be glad that we don't have, a massive act of God taking away our appliances to have to then reach out.
But it was just a conversation starter, and I didn't just cold reach out to them and say, "Hey, send me stuff." I started that conversation with them, and I think that's a big thing. Whether you do it on Facebook or Google or Twitter or email or whatever, I think you should start that conversation. I mean, as mom bloggers, we talk about we want them to treat us as friends. We want to build that relationship with them, but if we don't reach out and build that relationship, then we can't expect them to do that either.
That is such an important point, and I really love the way you did that. Generally in life, and especially in the blogging world, but really in business in general, and you can extrapolate to the rest of your life as well, but always look to help someone else first before you ask for a favor. So yeah, if you know in mind, if you want to keep in mind that, hey, I want to be reaching out to a certain brand like Kenmore, something like that, start interacting with them a bit on Twitter first. Before you necessarily make an ask, just engage with them and just sort of let them know who you are. You really want to make good relationships and good friendships so that they're at the top of your mind and they want to reach out to you when they have an opportunity. And so Kelly, you asked me how do I reach out, and I'm gonna admit that sometimes, I mean, I get a little bit like, oh, I don't want to be too much of a trouble, or I don't want to ask whatever. And I've gone through certain phases where I'm doing the reaching out, and Janice is, and now lots of times it's our virtual assistant, Jennifer, who does a lot of the asks. But the thing is, to be honest, Janice and I have usually been so busy just replying to stuff that comes to us, we haven't even asked that much. And it's kind of silly in a way, because Janice and I joke around all the time that we're leaving money on the table everywhere we turn, because we're like too busy and this and that, and lots of times with our own ads and setting up giveaways, we're just handling the replies. So someone comes into us and then we are replying. Now, because we're so early on and we're a more well-known blog and we're connected with all the PR companies, we don't, like I say, we don't end up having to reach out very often. So your experience, and I really love hearing from other bloggers who do successfully reach out to companies, because, like I said, we're often just going, oh, okay, sure, we'll do that. And the campaigns are reaching out, brands are reaching out, and PR companies are reaching out to us. But one of the reasons there is PR, a lot of brands are all handled by several PR companies. And what you want to do is really build those positive relationships with those handful of PR companies. There's a few major PR companies out there that there's tons of different people working within the same company. But what you can often do is, once you have a relationship with someone in a PR company, is, you can also leverage that and say, do you have anyone in your company that's working with such and such other brands, like any of your colleagues at such and such major PR company, and really try to leverage those. Or if you say you want to be more proactive, you want to reach out with a particular company, you might know that a certain PR company works with such and such brand. You might learn a lot of that stuff from following Twitter parties that and start finding out the handles, because lots of so for example, when we're running, like, say, a Land's End Twitter party or something, those Land's End PR contacts, they're engaging in the Twitter party. So follow them on Twitter, engage with them a little bit. A lot of the different, as I said, a lot of the different PR people will work on multiple campaigns, so for multiple brands within one PR company, and then they have all contacts and friends within that same PR company that work on all sorts of different brands. A big aspect of being engaging with them on Twitter is being very respectful with your Twitter stream in general. I personally can't really emphasize that enough about being professional. If you think in the future you might want to engage with brands, or you might want to monetize in that way, try to avoid major brand bashing or boycotting. Now, I totally am respectful of bloggers using their voices to initiate and engage and force change, and lots of times, you know, I'm glad they're doing it because I don't have the balls that some of, you know, I don't have Bookie Boo's balls to be going after stuff the way she does. And, you know, but we don't all have to be Bookie Boo, and we don't all have to be, I mean, it's part of her shtick. It's part of her thing, is that she's this, like, kick-ass trainer, and she's, you know, going to motivate her moms to lose weight, and she's going to force those brands to say if they have GMOs or whatever, you know what I mean? But be careful about jumping on bandwagons, about boycotting brands, or if there's a big kerfuffle going on, like with KFC or whatever, don't jump on a bashing bandwagon, because you're going to scare PR companies away from you. I mean, even if you're, and again, I don't mean to say, oh, you have to all be nice and suck up to brands and be inauthentic. Not in the slightest. Definitely stand up for what you're talking about, but just be respectful. You can disagree and add advice to a company and be very respectful. I mean, so you could, to be honest, I avoided the whole KFC thing. I didn't even read the stream. I didn't watch anything about it. I wasn't involved. But if I was going to try to say to a brand that if I was going to make a public statement on Twitter or something and say that I really didn't appreciate such and such, like MSG being in their ingredients, I would say it in a really, in a really respectful way, and say something a lot, and put a positive spin on it in an advice thing, and try to really engage in a productive way. Because once you're reaching out to a brand, and if they're going to work with you, they're going to check your stream, or they should probably check your stream, check your Facebook, see how you engage and how professional you are. And really, you're monetizing your influence. You're monetizing your conversations in a way, and so you have to make sure that you're someone that they want to align with, that you match their brand. And so further about that, I mean, sometimes it's hard for, like, myself, Janice, and I kind of watch our mouths a little bit. I won't swear online or swear while we're blogging. In real life, I do swear, and Kelly can attest to that, because I kind of do swear. But online, no. And on my Twitter stream, no, I don't. And it's not because I'm not being authentic, but because I'm just respectful of, and that's not how I would portray myself in the written word. So be authentic, but don't don't be obnoxious, and keep yourself professional. So that's a bit of it. Sorry, I went on a bit of a tangent there about. I tend to chat in tangents, but I think that's a really important tangent about managing your Twitter stream. When you're going to be, like Kelly said, she's effectively monetizing her Twitter stream, and that's how she made that engagement with Kenmore. If she didn't have a great Twitter following, if she'd been cursing and bashing some other brand in a tweet before she reached out to Kenmore, they wouldn't be like, oh, hey, tweet about us. You know, they'd be like, unfollow, block. So that's a great strategy, is reaching out to them on Twitter, Facebook as well, and
I just want to say real quick, back to that, stay professional, and not just on Twitter, guys.
Yes.
You know, you can, okay, I've done it, and I will probably still do it. You can do your little rants on Facebook, but you've got to keep them professional. Like I did one a while back that was something like, oh, the Smurfs have nothing on me because I'm green, or something like that. And it was like I'm not blue, I'm green. So I did this whole little, it was a rant, but it was more of a rant of they're so awesome and so cool that they get to go do this, whatever it is, and I didn't, and poor pitiful me, but these are my plans so that next time I get invited. So it was a rant like they didn't invite me, I didn't get to go, but it was respectful, and it was, I got invited to the next thing. So I mean, it worked. But instead of they get everything and these certain people always do all this, it wasn't that type of rant. It was very professional, I guess.
Exactly.
Not really professional, but because I'm still ranting, but it was kind of professional. I didn't drag anybody down, and the PR companies, they read that stuff. You'd be amazed at the stuff they'll go back into in your blog and read.
Sure. Well, and a good example of the posts about, I didn't get invited, and the same people all the time, is the whole Disney social media moms thing. Each year, especially in those beginning years, we had a lot of people just so upset and just really not necessarily acting super professionally about not having been picked for the social media moms. But each year they, then they're picking a new batch, and this year they really made an attempt to pick totally new people that hadn't been before. So while that's really productive, good feedback to them would have been, in earlier years, the feedback was, yeah, people do want you guys to select new bloggers to go, not new as in not being blogging, but a new set of bloggers. And you can express that, but you just have to do it respectfully, and so that you'll get chosen in the next batch. So that's really helpful. Okay, let me just pull back into some of my notes and try to pull myself back onto focus here. Okay, so we're going to go back into when you're looking at the types of blogs and monetizing different types of blogs. So Kelly was a great illustration because she has 3 very different blogs. As she said, she's got the standard sort of mom blog where she does product reviews and giveaways, which is a very common trend, very popular out there. It's a fun blog type of style of blog for us as moms to write because we can combine stories with our family and keeping our own memories. I know a lot of my memories I have stored through my blog, and when I want to go back and read a story, I don't go back and I don't have a written journal, but I have them in my own blog. But that being said, these days especially, I write way less posts on my blog than all the other guest writers do. And there's a lot of product giveaways and features, but it's a nice mix, and it's a fun kind of a blog for us as mom owners to have. The downside of starting one of these type of blogs right now is that the market is very saturated. We've got thousands of us. There's lots and lots out there. That doesn't mean that you can't start one now and that you can't get noticed. And by following a lot of strategies, there's still a lot of room to make and to get started as a blogger now and still get in there. And we'll talk about some more resources and how to do that after. And another so the other kind of mom blog is like the true sort of mom blog where it isn't about product reviews, where a mom is truly making a blog to store her memories and just really engage with the mom blogging community, and there's no product placement at all. That kind of blog, very fun to write, very personally fulfilling, hard to monetize. So what you need to do there is basically be really, really good with your storytelling, be really engaged, and get a lot of page views if you want to actually monetize that blog, because you're going to have to basically monetize there using page views, basically with selling either CPM ads, so cost per impression ads, in the in your sidebars, that type of thing. And it's gonna you could run an ad network, you could run something like BlogHer or one of the other ad networks through there and make a little bit of money, but it's going to be hard to generate a lot of money on that type of blog. But generally, if you're making that kind of blog, you're not doing it for the money, you're doing it for the love of it and the passion of it. So definitely, yeah, mom blogs, we love them. They're great. That's what we love to do as well. But if you're doing a pure mom blog and you're like, there's no way I'm not selling out to any companies and putting any product reviews or giveaways, just recognize that that's great, but it'll be harder to monetize. Now, a product review or straight giveaway blog that is really more narrowly focused into product reviews and giveaways, that approach can work, and there are some out there now that are really a lot more focused, not even on the mom blog kind of post, but really about giveaways and product reviews, and that can be easier to monetize because you're really narrowly focused on that, and you've got a lot more posts pushing through, so you can monetize more about that.
But like your ad networks and stuff, they don't do as well on those type of blogs.
No, exactly.
Because the people that are coming to win the stuff aren't clicking on your ads to buy stuff.
Exactly. So AdSense, and that's a really good point, Kelly. I love the way you've brought that up because I wanted to talk about AdSense. I think it's really interesting that you have a lot of success with AdSense on one of your sites. We ran AdSense way back in the beginning. I mean, there's some AdSense tossed on our site right now, but it's like negligible. I just don't even pay attention to it. It's really not, our readers aren't clicking on ads generally. I mean, aren't clicking on AdSense ads generally, I don't think, but I'm going to learn more from you about how you're making that work maybe on your deals site, because we do have a deals site that's not very, we don't emphasize it much. But
I mean, okay, last month I made a little over $1,000 on AdSense.
Wow, that is impressive.
About 600 of that was my deal site.
That is very impressive.
About 300 was my main site. So I mean, that's still pretty decent on.
That is very. That's impressive.
Site, and then the cooking site, it just doesn't have the page rank, so it's just not doing as well. But I still made about $100 on it. So I mean,
$100 in AdSense on it.
On it. Mm-hmm.
See, I've got to take a closer look at your sites and how you're doing your AdSense, because we really, like I say, I've just ignored it. I did it way in the beginning. We used to run it, and especially on our directories, when we were more active with our directories have like fallen by the wayside, and I need to re-engage them and get them working again. But in those days, the directories, they kind of performed okay with AdSense a little bit, but I mean, I just haven't put any real effort into that, so that's a good thing to note. And I like to hear how the deals site, because I'm gonna monetize my deals site a bit more that way, because we have our 5 minutes for deals. We've got one girl who runs it, and we've totally neglected it. So I gotta pay more attention to 5 minutes for deals. Anyway. So yeah, which leads us into deals and couponing blogs. Now this can be a fantastic approach if you've got talent and skills and you actually are a couponer, a passion for that. For us, we have the deal site, and we have a girl running it, but to be honest, for me it's tough because I'm not personally a couponer, and I'm in Canada, and it messes things up because Canada, we don't get nearly the deals that you guys get. But anyway, so maybe you want to share a little bit, Kelly, about your deals site and how you got that started, and you monetize with AdSense. Do you do any other monetization there?
I do. Okay, so Kimmy wanted to know what a deal site is.
Oh, good question.
A deal site is basically coupons, freebies, samples, specials like 30% off at Shoe Station or whatever. That's a deal site. You find all that information on a deal site if you're looking for a deal. So my site, because I was a little late in the game starting the deal site, I think it's 2 years old, 2.5 years old. I think it's I don't know. Anyway, it's about 2 years old.
Yeah.
The market was so saturated already that I didn't want to go into it just posting, 60 deals a day like some of your bigger sites do. I wanted it to be a little bit more niche specific. Mm-hmm. So my deal site is actually for more for homeschoolers. And
interesting.
So my tag is, and I don't remember exactly what my tag is, though you're supposed to know it, but something like, living frugally. I don't know what it is. Anyway, but it's more toward I know, that's so pathetic.
It's no problem. While you're talking, I'm going to go get your link.
So everything on there fits a homeschooling parent. It doesn't necessarily mean it's just homeschooling product deals or whatever, but it's for homeschooling parents. So that's my deal site. I use affiliates. I use AdSense. Obviously, AdSense is my big money thing on there. But I do private ads, and I do, sponsored posts. And hey, I'm always looking for another dollar. So I do whatever I can do to monetize it without selling out.
Very good. Cool. Yeah, like I said, we have a deal site that we have completely neglected and ignored. Again, we started it, I don't know, a couple years ago, I guess, as well. And it is a very full market, so it does take some work, and we just haven't invested a lot in it. So we kind of have it running there, and like, oh yeah, one day we'll see if we can do something more with that. But it hasn't been a moneymaker for us because we've just neglected it completely. Anyway, but yeah, I gotta pay a bit more attention and run some AdSense on there. Okay, so that is very helpful. Now let me just continue on here through some of my notes. Okay, so yeah, deals and couponing blogs, we've just touched on that. Now the next sort of major category of blogs, I kind of call them specialty blogs. And that's when you're going to go into and specialize in a food, like for example, food blogging, like Kelly said, she has a food blog. There's photography, crafts, homeschooling resources, I think sort of fall under that specialty kind of thing. You can have technical, like for example, like a WordPress focused blog, or a blog that's helping moms with social media sort of aspects, or other business related. You can have a blog that's teaching people about working online. You have a blog about teaching them how to be a virtual assistant. I mean, all those kinds of technical or business related blogs. Fashion blogs are great, and those are ones that fall very nicely into monetizing as well, because obviously you're talking about brands, and so fashion blogs can be great. You can also have blogs that are specific about writing, helping someone write, those kind of writing advice. So that's going to be harder to monetize. And then I want to talk about a fantastic category of blogs that's very hard to monetize, but has been done very well recently, and that's humor blogs. Now, in our Ultimate Blog Party that we're having next week, that you're all going to be starting, actually it's basically starting in it starts tomorrow night at midnight, big plug here for the Ultimate Blog Party, at midnight Eastern, so it's technically Friday, April 5th, but it's sort of tomorrow night at midnight Eastern, or 9 o'clock at night for us in the Pacific time zone. Is when the Ultimate Blog Party starts. Now what I'm talking about here is, in the Ultimate Blog Party, our feature sponsor actually is Amber Dusick from Parenting Illustrated with Crappy Pictures, and I think she's a fantastic example of a blogger coming new in the scene and kicking some serious butt. She is doing fabulously. She's going to reach something like 2 million page views this month. And yeah, I know, we kind of all hate her. No, I'm just teasing. I love Amber. But there's always a little bit of jealousy in us for when other bloggers like just come in and kick butt. You're like, oh, couldn't it be me? But no, it couldn't be me, because I am not Amber, and I do not have an absolutely hilarious sense of humor and the ability to draw crappy pictures that will make someone laugh and spread them all over the internet. So humor blogs is a specialty that, like I said, it can be tough to monetize. Under humor blogs, you've got the Blog-S. Now I remember years ago, this was actually kind of fun story from the way back when, way back in like, what was it, like 2008 or something. I remember Janice and I chatting with Jenny, the Blog-S, in the bathroom at BlogHer. So much important networking happens in the women's washroom at all events. That's my favorite place to network. Anyway, so the Blog-S, we were chatting with Jenny, and it was way back, like I say, in it was 08 or 09 or something like that, and Janice and I were huge fans of hers, and we're talking about how she's monetizing, and she was sharing that it was hard for her in those days to monetize because, I mean, she is crazy, and her blog is crazy. Like, it's just like, as she would call it, irreverent, right? So it was shockingly irreverent. So it was hard to get brands to align and advertise on her blog. But so it took some, some staying in there. Even though when she had a lot of traffic and she was really well known, she still actually had a full-time other job, even when she was being successful as the Blog-S. And it took some time for her to monetize. Janice and I gave her some advice and some encouragement about other ways that she still could monetize when the big brands were sort of, be like, ah, I won't touch you. And so when you look at the bloggess right now, you'll find that a lot of her advertisers in her sidebar will be other bloggers, other people that are okay with with her swearing and with her irreverence. And then what she does as well, and that's a big strategy that will apply to this category of blogs and other categories, is she writes for other blogs. So that she writes for a, what is it? It's a sex advice column or sex. So she's got this hilarious whole gig going and all this stuff that matches in with her brand of who she is. She's irreverent and she blogs the way and true to her personality on other sites. And then of course she got a book deal. And so she had her book deal, it's been like a year, is it now, or more? And her book just kicked butt. Like, oh my gosh, she's just way up there in on the bestseller lists and Amazon bestsellers. I mean, she's just in phenomenally with her book. So what I want to sort of say there, and then we've got one more example of humor blogs that are just kicking it these days, is How to Be a Dad. We're going to be giving away copies in our Ultimate Blog Party of How to Be a Dad's new book, of Scary Mommy's new of her upcoming book. She's got a book releasing, is it on April 9th, I think Tuesday. We're going to be having her on our Google Hangout during the Ultimate Blog Party, and we're going to be giving away some of her books. She's another great example of a humor blogger that published a book and is doing really well from publishing a book and growing huge influence and huge numbers. And then we're going to be giving away some of Amber's book. Amber is Parenting Illustrated with Crappy Pictures. So those are all examples. How to Be a Dad came out very new. Was it like, is it just less than a year ago or something now? Pretty new. Again,
it's funny.
So funny. Theirs is a really interesting story, and if you can forgive me for babbling a tiny bit more, I want to share a little bit about this How to Be a Dad story. Janice became friends with Charlie on Twitter quite early on, right when they were just new, and Janice was like, oh my gosh, this guy's hilarious, and was sharing this stuff and da-da-da-da. And we just knew they were going to go huge, right? Same with Amber. We featured her crappy pictures on our blog like a year ago. We were like, oh, but we could never get her again to write another post because she's just too busy. We knew she was going to go huge. Anyway, and so, but How to Be a Dad, again, it's hard for them to monetize their their straight blog. They can't follow like sort of some of the strategies that the other mom bloggers will do, and it can be harder to monetize. And even though they have so many page views and going so huge, it was still a bit of struggle for them to grab hold and monetize all of their action, all their page views right at first. But now again, they've got a book deal, and they're going to be doing fabulously.
But you know, I think that's one thing that I'm trying to stress in all of these things. You have to find what works for you and what works for your site. Because like you said, the bloggess, she didn't monetize her site really. She went elsewhere and had somebody pay her to write in other places. Actually, one of my writers, she has a mommy blog, a straight mommy blog that's her life story on her blog. So she writes for me, and that's how she makes a little bit of money, because I pay her to write 2 weekly posts for me. So
exactly.
You have to find, like she said, she likes to do it because she doesn't put that stuff on her blog. It doesn't fit her blog, so it works out really well. We had a couple questions come in, Susan.
Yeah.
So all right. Chris wants to know, how long should it take to make money on a new site? And
that's the giant, it depends on so many factors. I mean, that's the impossible question to really answer, because it's going to depend on so many factors. First of all, what type of site? How are you monetizing it? How good are you? Really, you know, it's going to be about how good you are at it, like how hard you work, how great your content is. I mean, How to Be a Dad is a really, really good example of phenomenal quality. And when Janice, like I said, had chatted with Charlie Fairmount, we brought him on to a Spreecast a year, was it a year ago? I don't know, no, several months ago. I can't even remember now, so about the time. And he shared a little bit of his story. Basically, they kind of embarked on their project behind the scenes, really making it top quality before they published. So they worked, like I said, I don't remember. I don't remember a story about how long they worked on their concept. There's two of them, Andy and Charlie. They work together. One is the graphic artist, like Andy does all of the drawings and all that stuff, and Charlie does a bunch of the other stuff, and they really perfected it. And then it took, again, my gut feel is it's been at like a year-ish. That's just my gut feeling, and he can correct me or whatever. Someone can correct me, or they can pull up when they started. But they had amazing talent. They went viral because their posts were so funny. And then it still takes a while when you're building up. Like, even though they were so successful, and their page views and their Twitter numbers just like erupted. But then to clamor on and try to still be creating the content and try to figure out how to monetize it takes time. And so then they've put out a book deal, and they'll be approaching it like that. But even though they're so cute, they're still, like I say, working on their monetization strategies.
So, Chris, it really depends. My main site, it took me 6 years to start making money.
And that's a funny comment there. And I was thinking about that earlier today about what kind of advice that when we're giving. I was going to say that it's easier to make money now blogging than it was when we started 6 years ago. Now, one con of starting now is that the market is much more saturated and there's a lot more competition. But when we started back in 2006, both of us, that was what it was, right? March 2006 for us.
Mine was November, but yeah.
Yeah, same thing. It was almost impossible to make money on a blog, and most people were making fun of us for even having any intention.
Nobody even knew. To this day, people still don't know. They're like, "What's a blogger?" I'm like,
yeah.
"Oh, I don't know."
Yeah, no, it's true. But and I remember Janice. One of the things that's so funny is I remember one of Janice's real life, sort of real life friends. She's at some party, and this was way back in the beginning, and they were just making fun of her for starting a blog, and they're like, as if you're ever going to make any money by starting a blog. One of them was writing a book in a traditional way, and like whatever, their book never got published. And our blog did. So, people, it was very hard to make money back then, and it took time. But you really have to believe in yourself and then just keep going. But in a very business-minded way as well. If you have to make money on your blog, you're going to approach it differently than whether you do or if you don't need to make money on it. But that I will say, don't quit your day job thinking you'll make money on your blog right away. It's a hard life. It's a hard knock's life.
And we talked about that in our first video about how hard it is to blog. A lot of people start these deal blogs and they make money in their first month. So it all depends on what you want to write about, and you have to write about something that you can stick with 7 days a week.
Yeah.
However many hours a day.
That's a good point. The deals blog, the couponing thing, they can work really well, but they're usually publishing multiple times a day. It is a tough job, but if you were already a couponer and that's your passion and you love to do deals and you love to do couponing, it is a great way. One of the things I want to say, whether you're thinking of starting a blog right now or you have a blog and you want to learn more or whatever, the key is learn from other people. You got to read other people's blogs, be inspired, but please don't copy. You'll make enemies obviously from copying, but also you won't be true to yourself, and you won't ever really truly excel if you're just trying to copy someone else. Amber has this amazingly quirky, great idea of drawing crappy pictures. Don't everybody go out and start trying to draw crappy pictures and think, well, gee, I'm not a very good artist. I can make crappy pictures. And, that's not going to work. That's her shtick. She's done an amazing thing at it. But you can learn from her and be inspired by her story, in that she, was true to herself, used her own talents, entered into this very saturated world of blogs and humor writing and everything, and made a name for herself. Be inspired by that and let that dig deep into yourself. The fact is, there is always room for talent, okay? And you have to find your own talent. And you might not be able to find it right away, and it might be something that you hone and develop, right? We all develop and get better as bloggers. I mean, you go back to read your earlier posts, and you're kind of horrified, like even from us, like, you know what I mean? I go back and, oh, I mean, on our old blog posts, we didn't even put pictures in most of them.
You know what my first blog post says? My first blog post says, okay, I've started a blog. What do you think? Well, of course, nobody commented on it. I didn't have any readers.
Yeah. So the thing is, you will develop. You'll learn more about yourself and more talents, and you find your talents and really narrow in and get better. But my advice too is, before you start, if you're just at a new starting point, or whether you've been blogging on one blog and you're going to create a new blog or move into a new niche, I definitely like to say do research first. Janice and I, before we created 5 Minutes for Mom, we didn't just start it one day and just go, boom, we're going to blog. Lots of people did, and that's nothing wrong with that. That's how almost everybody that we know who started a blog said. Their first post said, hi, I've just started a blog. Like, exactly. Janice and I, we had approached it differently. We researched and read all kinds of blogs and really kind of tried to find our niche, and that's when we found our niche. At that point, there were no sort of blogs that were combining well, we didn't do giveaways yet, but product reviews and mom stories and bringing together the mom community and a blog directory. That was just new. That right then there was just pure mom blogs. So we sort of,
the whole mom blogging thing was really new. I mean,
exactly.
2006, 2007 is kind of when everybody started. I mean, there are people that have been there before, that started before, but that's like your big time. Organized Junkie, Tip Junkie, 5 Minutes for Mom. Me. Not that I'm
exactly
in with all of them, but we all started around that same time. That's when it first kind of came to be. So
exactly. And so what we did was we seriously looked at the community and thought, how can we help the community? And that's why 5 Minutes for Mom grew as it did in the beginning, because we literally had an honestly altruistic intention of helping other mom bloggers. We had been working at home already for years. We had a couple of e-commerce stores. We knew how hard it was. We wanted to help people get some authentic links, and anchor tags in those days were very powerful, and we created our directories, and that was really a big niche. Now, so when I'm saying you want to do a lot of research, and then you want to look to sites that have resources for you. I'm gonna copy and paste in I've got a list of some links here. I'm just gonna copy and paste them right into the conversation, and then we'll embed them in our blog posts later too. But here's just a quick sampling, like off the top of my head, of some places to get some advice from and to learn from. So Blogging Basics 101, I mean, absolutely, so much great information in there. Pro Blogger, I mean, I put the first week link in there. That is just an extra little thing. Oh, Erica says, yeah, she's been blogging since 2003. Erica, her site is listed there as Erica Says. I've put that into the comment, into the event stream there, the comments. Erica has a lot of great advice, shares a lot of information on WordPress. Type A Parent, Kelby, I mean, she's an awesome resource. These kinds of sites, they're great for you to learn from the content, also to learn from how they look, how they promote themselves, how they interact on the platforms. Blog Monetizing 101 is a blog specifically about this topic that we're talking about right now. How do you blog, right? We've got Crystal. Crystal is Kelly's friend, who they run their weekly sessions, which you should be watching, called Learn to Blog. I've got it right here. Let me put in that link. Just 1 second. I'm just going to put the link to. Is that to your category for your Learn to Blog?
Her post, yeah, the post that you showed to me earlier, Susan.
Yeah.
Like the 10 things. If you actually do that one, all the videos are at the bottom of that post.
Okay. Well, I'm just going to first type in here this one category. Is this for your? What's this one?
I don't know.
Category. Okay, I just put in this category one of yours.
That's all of my blogging tips. I've been writing blogging tips since like 2009.
Okay.
As a weekly thing on 3 Boys and a Dog. So that's that category.
So yeah, there you go. Oh, and Jolene shared another example there, momcomp.com. Oh, and yes, Erica shared her tutorials are all at blogbynumber.com, and there's just so many resources. So I mean, you're not like, I remember when we started back in 2006, we created our own blog. I actually had bought some WordPress tutorials from some other guy, another blog, not even a mom blog or something else, and I set up our first blog and whatever. And there wasn't all of these great great resources that there are now. Yeah, Erica Mueller is such a great example of making yourself an authority and monetizing that as a WordPress expert. She's done a great job of that, and that is an absolutely fabulous strategy for making money blogging, is to help other people. I love the saying, something about the people who made the most money during the gold rush were the ones selling the shovels. So, you know what, find some shovels to sell to bloggers. You know, you can make money by helping them set up their blogs or helping them work on that, like the way Erica does. You can do other, like we had talked about in the other earlier session, about providing graphic services and different things like that. But providing information and tools and services to help other bloggers, that's a great way to actually monetize your own blog or monetize your working at home in general. Oh, so here's the Learn to Blog Hangout. Let me just make sure.
While you're doing that, we had a couple of other questions. Okay, so okay. Megan wants to know, what are the best affiliate programs? Megan, in my opinion, it really depends on what your site is about. I do really well with Share a Sale, shareasale.com,
yeah,
and
good.
I do really well with Amazon. There are a million affiliate programs out there. I find that Share a Sale has a lot of different companies, and it all goes together and you get one check from them. So I really like them. For my deal site, I really like Logical Media. I do really well on it. I know a lot of people do really well on Escalate. I've yet to get a check from Escalate, so I don't do very well on it. Maybe I don't promote it enough. I don't know. And then Kim wants to know she says, so Kelly, what's your line? What do you consider selling out? If I put something on one of my sites that doesn't have anything to do with what I write about, and I only do it because it's money, to me that's selling out. You're not going to find sex toys on my site. You're not going to find...
Not on ours either.
Even though I've been offered lots of money to write about it,
yeah.
It's not going to go on my site. I don't write about that. I think Holly, actually yesterday in Crystal and I's chat, Holly said something exactly about that. That, she said, regardless of who uses them or doesn't use them, her readers don't want to see it on her site. And mine either. My readers don't want to come to my site and see this big picture of whatever. So that's not on my site. Drugs, alcohol, gambling, you're not going to find it on my site.
No, of course not, yeah.
So to me, that would be selling out. Just because the money was there, if I put one of those things on my site, to me, I'd be selling out. My readers would not be happy with me just so I could make money. So hopefully that answered that question. Where do we find the schedule of what you have coming up?
In our brains. You can tell us. Tell us what you want to hear, and we're making it up as we go, but not in a bad way. Just as in, we're figuring out what you want to hear and what kind of questions are coming at us, and you can help us define what we're going to talk about. Next week we will not be here because we will all be busy, as will you, partying at the Ultimate Blog Party. I'll put the link there just in case you haven't seen. There's the link for the Ultimate Blog Party. That's just a short link that at the moment goes into the introduction post, and it will then redirect to our live post. So next week we will be skipping our, like I said, this WOM strategy hour. We will be on Google Hangouts Tuesday night for the Ultimate Blog Party live event, Monday night and Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern. Monday night is on Twitter. Tuesday night, Google Hangout at 9 p.m. Eastern. We're going to be talking about more about blogging tips and tricks and all that kind of stuff. And we're actually hoping to have Charlie from How to Be a Dad and Jill from Scary Mummy on the Google Hangout. So definitely check in for that and try to spread the word, get your friends all involved in the Ultimate Blog Party. And I wanted to also mention the reason we had started the Ultimate Blog Party, and the reason again that it became a success and that this is our 7th year doing it, is that it is about getting people back to your blogs, growing the community's traffic, bringing it back to the blog, getting comments on your blog, but also even we have link ups for it within the Ultimate Blog Party. You can link up your Facebook page, your Pinterest profile, and your Twitter handle. And so we're really, the Ultimate Blog Party, it's all about the community, and it's about really trying to lift everyone up. It's a time when people constantly telling me, oh, I met some of my best friends, blogging friends during the Ultimate Blog Party. And so it's a really great way of collaborating. And one of the points I wanted to make, and I've got written down here in my notes that I wanted to make sure I shared with you, is that one of the key things you need to do if you want to have success blogging and you want to monetize your blog, you've got to work with other people. You need to collaborate. You can't think of other bloggers as competitors. You have to think of them as collaborators. You need to collaborate with your competitors if you have to think of them as competitors. It is true that we are all kind of fighting for the time. I mean, we are all in a sense competing even with Facebook. We're even competing, if you want to think of it, for their eyeballs or clicks or time with Twitter. But you can't think of it as competing with them. You work with them. As you work with Facebook, you work with Twitter, in that you grow your presence there. With other bloggers, if you start thinking, oh, that another blogger in your niche is your competitor. No, like Kelly, I could think of, oh, she's my competitor. But no, we're not. We collaborate, we lift each other up, and that's how we all succeed. You will not succeed by stepping on other people in blogging. You have to lift each other up. And the Ultimate Blog Party is one of the ways that we really try to do that. We try to, it's all about promoting other blogs. So definitely join us for that. That was a little tangent, a little plug for the Ultimate Blog Party. But so like I said, for our calendar of upcoming events here with upcoming topics, we won't be here next week. We will be here the week following. But next week for more blogging tips and talks, and like I say, hopefully to see Charlie and Jill in person and hear from them and their personal stories about how they have got their book deals and all that kind of stuff. Join us on Tuesday night at the Google Hangout next week at 9 o'clock Eastern. As for what we're going to talk about, please tell us what you want to hear. Leave comments here, email us, whatever. If you have guests that you want, we're going to be bringing on other guests. That's going to be a big thing here in these sessions, is we're going to bring on other people to share their experiences. And if you want to see a particular person, let us know, and we'll reach out to them and see if we can bring them on. Okay, Furley just said, can we talk about how we pitch your ad strategy to brands? Do you have a different types of ad tiers, sidebars, sponsors? Yes, media kits. We'll have a media kit. We talked a little bit about media kits in our previous sessions, and there's a lot. Kelly was saying she actually does media kits for people.
Okay, Susan, it is actually almost 1 o'clock.
Exactly. We have to wrap up. That's why I was talking so fast, trying to get a whole bunch of information in at once.
Look, maybe next week what we can do is talk about that. We can talk about pitching brands.
Well, the next week, yeah, the one after.
Yeah. The next time we're on.
2 weeks from that. That is a great idea. Kelly will, Kelly and I will definitely research, get some more advice from other people. If you've got tips and tricks, what we want to really do, again, even in these Hangouts, the way I've shared a bunch of links here from other people's sites, we're always about pointing and sharing other resources. So we will talk in 2 weeks' time about Furley's question there on pitching to other brands. I've just lost my window here. And so if you've got posts, if you've written posts, or you know of other friends who've written good posts about how to pitch your ad strategy to brands, then share that with us ahead of time, and we'll make sure we link to it and refer to it and include it in our posts. Okay?
Yeah, April says be sure to add all from the people that attended today to grow your network. Okay, the way you do that is if you're on this event page and you see where it says going, scroll down to the bottom where it says like plus 59 others and click that. When you click that, scroll back up to where it says going, and a button will pop up that says add all. So I do this every week, and I add it all to a folder, to a circle that's called Work at Home Moms. So great. I'm glad you told us to do that, April.
Great advice.
Yeah, April. Thank you, guys. Thanks, Susan. I'm glad we're doing this every week.
Thank you, Kelly, and thank you all for attending. Yes, I'm so glad we're doing this. We're all learning together. I'm constantly learning things from Kelly, and I just learned another little tip about adding all. All right, so thank you all so much, and we'll see you in 2 weeks for our next Work at Home Mom Strategy Hour. Thanks for joining us.
Bye-bye.